All right, let's jump right in. We're about to get into a really powerful story, and it's all about what happens when a totally new kind of authority shows up. It's a story about competition, sure, but it's also about joy and one really, really big idea.
I mean, let's be real for a second. The word authority can kind of make your skin crawl, right? We've all had those bad experiences with it. It's not exactly something we get excited about.
And that's the world we live in, isn't it? We're just bombarded with experts, influencers, gurus. Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's telling us what's true. So what do we end up doing? We turn inward. We say, you know what? I'll be the one to decide what's right for me. We kind of make ourselves the ultimate authority. But what happens when we run into an authority that we just can't ignore?
To really get our heads around this source material gives us this brilliant analogy. So, picture this. You're the captain of a gigantic ship, and it's a dark, foggy night out on the water.
You look out, and you see a light dead ahead. Now, if you know anything about being on the water, you know that if that light isn't moving left or right, you are heading straight for it. A collision is imminent.
So you do what any captain would do. You know the rules of the sea. Bigger ship gets the right of way. So you grab the radio and you state your authority, loud and clear. We are a barge. You need to turn to avoid a collision. Seems pretty straightforward, right?
But the voice that comes back on the radio? They just completely ignore your authority. They tell you to move. Now you're getting a little ticked off. So you repeat your command, maybe a little louder this time, emphasizing your size, your power, your right of way. And then you get that final reality-shattering message. This is the lighthouse. And in that single moment, everything changes. All your authority, your size, your rules, it all just vanishes. You realize you're not arguing with another boat. You're arguing with an unmovable, fixed reality. You're the one who has to change course. Period.
And that whole lighthouse thing? It's the perfect setup for our main story, which takes place out in the Judean countryside. And it's basically, it's a kind of spiritual turf war between the followers of two massive figures, John the Baptist and Jesus.
So you've got to picture the scene here. On one side, you've got John the Baptist. He's a huge deal, a famous prophet, massive following. His entire thing is built around baptism. And then Jesus and his disciples show up and start doing the exact same thing. From the outside, this looks like a direct challenge. It looks like competition.
And John's disciples? They are definitely seeing it that way. They're worried. They run to John and they're basically saying, hey, remember that guy you pointed out? Well, he's stealing our entire crowd. Everyone is going to him now. They see it as a zero-sum game. And in their minds, they are losing big time.
But John's reaction is not what you'd expect at all. Instead of getting defensive or jealous, he flips the whole script. He reveals this completely different way of thinking, an authority that isn't about competing, but about celebrating. And this is the line that just stops you in your tracks. John gets it completely. He knows his role. He wasn't supposed to be the main event. He was the warm-up act. And now that the headliner is on stage, his job is to fade into the background. There's no ego here, just this crystal clear understanding of his purpose. He uses this amazing picture to explain what he's thinking. In weddings back then, the whole celebration was about the bridegroom. And the friend of the bridegroom, kind of like the best man today, his job wasn't to steal the spotlight. No, his job was to get everything ready for his friend and then just be thrilled when the groom finally arrived. John says, "My joy is now complete because the one I've been waiting for is finally here."
What's so interesting is that the source text puts this story right after another one about a guy named Nicodemus who came to Jesus at night with all these deep intellectual questions. Nicodemus wanted to debate things. John the Baptist just wanted to celebrate. And the comparison seems to be saying that really recognizing this new authority isn't just about figuring it out in your head, it's about celebrating it with your whole heart. So, what is it about this authority that makes it so different? Why does it inspire joy instead of jealousy? Well, John explains that this isn't just another voice in the crowd. It's in a whole other category.
And here's where John really breaks it down. He admits his own authority is limited. He says, look, I'm from the earth. I can only speak from a human perspective. But Jesus, he says, is from heaven. And because of that, he is above all. His authority isn't just a little bit better. It's a completely different kind of authority because of where it comes from.
So why is this authority presented as the ultimate one? The text gives a couple of huge reasons. First, because Jesus is presented as a direct eyewitness to what heaven is actually like. He's not repeating some secondhand story, he's reporting on what he has personally seen and heard. And second, because he utters the words of God. The message and the messenger are inseparable.
It's presented as the pure, unfiltered truth.
And this isn't just some philosophical idea. No, this supreme authority comes with the highest stakes imaginable. According to the text, it isn't just offer an opinion. It declares the one and only path to what it calls eternal life.
Now, check this out. There's a really subtle but incredibly powerful detail here, and it's the verb tense. It doesn't say whoever believes will have eternal life, like it's some prize you get at the very end. It says has eternal life, present tense, right now.
This gets at this really cool kind of mind-bending theological idea that's sometimes called the already and not yet. And what it means is that eternal life isn't just about what happens after you die. It's a whole new quality of life, a new reality that starts the second you believe. It's something you actually possess now, that's the already. Even though you'll experience it in its fullness later on, that's the not yet.
And it's not just a one-way street. This principle works both ways. For those who believe, eternal life is an already reality that will one day have its not yet culmination. But for those who don't believe, what the text calls the wrath of God is also described as a present reality that remains on him, and that also has a future culmination. The choice we make has consequences right here, right now.
So when you boil it all down, it comes back to one thing: recognition. It's like a flock of sheep in a noisy field. They know their shepherd's voice, and they ignore all the others. The central question here is about which voice you're actually tuning into and which one you're following.
And really, that's the question this whole story leaves us with. In a world that tells us to be our own authority, to be our own lighthouse, this story presents a totally different option. With all the competing voices out there fighting for our attention, which one? Which one is actually guiding your direction?